So, when you think about UFOs, what's the first thing that pops into your head? For most of us, it's probably some kind of nuts and bolts spaceship, piloted by visitors from some distant star. It's a really compelling image, but what if it's just fundamentally wrong? What if we've been looking at this whole puzzle through way too narrow a lens? And what if the real secret isn't out there in deep space, but woven into the very fabric of reality itself?
Okay, let's really dive into this because this right here is the central question we're tackling. Are we dealing with visitors from another planet? You know, the standard extraterrestrial hypothesis. Or is this phenomenon something far, far stranger? Maybe intrusions from a reality that exists right here, right alongside our own. So you've got these two competing ideas. On one side, you have the familiar ETA, physical ships traveling absolutely insane interstellar distances. But on the other side, you've got this more radical idea, one that's championed by researchers like the legendary Jacques Vallée. He calls it the multidimensional hypothesis, and it suggests these aren't visitors from far away, but more like neighbors, from a reality that literally overlaps with ours.
To really get our heads around this, we have to look at the work of Jacques Vallée. He basically argues that to understand this phenomenon, we need to stop thinking like aerospace engineers and start thinking more like biologists or philosophers, looking at consciousness, ecosystems, and even, get this, folklore.
And this is exactly how Vallée builds his case against that simple nuts and bolts theory. He points out that so many of these encounters are just absurd. They're dreamlike, they're symbolic, not at all like a straightforward scientific expedition. And they have this incredible connection to ancient myths of fairies, jinn, and other otherworldly beings. Crucially, they seem to interact directly with the witness's mind, completely changing their beliefs. The phenomenon almost wears a cultural mask. It showed up as fairies in medieval Europe, and today, in the space age, it shows up as aliens. The simple spaceship theory just can't explain that level of high strangeness.
So all of that leads to his alternative, the multidimensional hypothesis. And the key word here, the one to really focus on, is coexist. These other realities aren't light years away. They're right here with us, maybe just vibrating at a different frequency. And every now and then, they intersect with our world. In this model, a UFO isn't just a vehicle. It's more like a manifestation, a temporary bleed-through from another layer of existence.
Now this is where it gets really wild. This leads us to Vallée's most provocative idea, the possibility that the phenomenon is a control system. He suggests it might not be good or bad, but something that acts kind of like a thermostat for human consciousness. It introduces these weird anomalies, UFO sightings, strange encounters, that destabilize our rigid beliefs, force us to question what's real, and just kind of nudge our culture in new directions.
You know, these ideas aren't just abstract theories floating around. Decades ago, one inventor actually tried to engineer a machine based on very, very similar principles. His name was Otis Carr, and his story is this incredible, almost forgotten chapter in the history of technology. So picture this. It's the 1950s, the height of the space race. While everyone else is completely focused on bigger and better chemical rockets, Carr claims he built this, the OTC X-1. He said it didn't burn any fuel to get off the ground. Instead, it used these powerful, rotating electromagnetic fields to, as he put it, interact with the fabric of existence and tap into energy from other dimensions.
And this quote right here, it gets to the absolute heart of Carr's mission. For him, this wasn't just an engineering problem to be solved, it was a philosophical one. He believed that technology and consciousness were deeply, deeply intertwined, and that to really trail through space, you first had to understand our place in a much larger, multidimensional reality. This was basically his conceptual map of reality. He proposed this model that started with a source of pure energy and intention. Then, that energy manifests as our physical world. But he believed that beyond our world were other dimensions of higher consciousness. So the OTC X-1 wasn't just designed to move through our dimension, it was meant to be a conduit between them all. And here is the crucial point, the absolute game changer in his design. The machine wasn't fully automated. The pilot's mind, their consciousness, their intention was an integral part of the circuitry. The machine and the operator were designed to work together in symbiosis to navigate these different layers of reality. It's basically a mind-machine interface, but on a cosmic scale. Okay, I know, this might sound like total science fiction, but how could we even begin to engineer something like this today? Well, that would require a totally new set of tools, what some people are calling the Esoteric Toolbox, which merges modern physics with principles that have honestly been explored for thousands of years.
A really key tool in this box is something called Cymatics. You've probably seen those super satisfying videos online of this. You put sand on a metal plate, you play a certain sound frequency, and the sand just self-organizes into these incredibly complex and beautiful geometric patterns. This is a direct, visible demonstration of how vibration can organize physical matter. It literally shows us that frequency can be a tool for creation. So, this leads to a completely new way of thinking about engineering. You start with something physical, right? A frequency, a vibration, but then you add the esoteric component, focused human intent. The theory is that consciousness isn't just a passive observer. It can actually act as a control system, directing that frequency to shape and manipulate matter. Your mind literally becomes part of the propulsion system.
All right, so we've got Vallée's dimensional theory on one side and Carr's forgotten mind-bending vision on the other. A modern framework is now starting to emerge that tries to synthesize all of these ideas into a practical blueprint for the 21st century. And this is where the book UFO Labs: Engineering the Impossible From Ancient Vimanas to Zero-Point Flight by engineer Sachin Chitre comes into play. It's positioned not just as another book of theories, but as an actual engineer's handbook. It's trying to build a bridge connecting these ancient descriptions of flying machines from Vedic texts, known as Vimanas, with the incredible physics of innovators like Nikola Tesla, and the dimensional concepts of pioneers like Otis Carr.
This table just puts everything together so perfectly. The old ETH model sees consciousness as secondary. You're just an observer watching the event. Then Vallée sees consciousness as central. The phenomenon actively shapes our beliefs. But the UFO Lab's vision, it takes that final radical step. It sees consciousness as integrated, an active, essential part of the control system itself. The goal completely shifts from just trying to reverse engineer some exotic materials to developing craft that operate on a fusion of physics, ethics, and consciousness. And this is the real takeaway. This whole exploration is framed as an invitation. It's a call to action for innovators, for engineers, for dreamers, shifting us all from being passive observers of a mystery to becoming active participants in building the future. The knowledge isn't just for academic debate. It's a blueprint to actually start doing something.
So we end with this question, which really captures the legacy of all these thinkers, from Vallée to Carr to Chitre. It suggests that the final frontier isn't just out there somewhere in the cosmos. Maybe, just maybe, the biggest breakthrough will come from looking inward and understanding that the most powerful piece of technology we'll ever have might just be our own consciousness.